The first piece of information that I have selected comes from section 1.0 on statistics. It is explaining how to find the mean, median, and range. Mean is the average value of a set of numbers. The median is relating to, located in, or extended toward the middle. Range is an amount or extent of variation. The next slide explains the rules for brainstorming. The first rule is there is no criticism allowed. Next is to work for the best quantity. The third rule is to welcome piling on. Finally, the last rule is to allow free for all. Using these few guidelines can help lead you to having a successful product. The third piece of information identifies the design process. The first step in this process is to identify problems and opportunities. After that, you need to frame a design brief. The third step is to begin investigating and research. Then you need to generate alternative solutions. Next, you need to choose a solution. The sixth step is to work on your developmental work. After that, you need to begin making a model and prototype. Then you need to test and evaluate your product to see if it is efficient. If your product is not successful, your last step will be to redesign and improve. The fourth slide explains a product's changing lifestyle. You begin with a concept or a redesign. Then you have to check to see if there are any changes to be made. Your next step would be to complete research. After completing your research, you are able to see if you need new materials and/or technology. Next, you begin the sketching and developmental portion of the life cycle. When you have completed that step, you move on and begin manufacturing. After that, you begin to test your product. Next, you place the product on the market and begin distributing. Your final phase is to receive feedback. The next slide explains how to use dimension lines. Dimension lines are used to show distance. Arrows are drawn on the end to show where dimension line starts and ends. The actual distance is typically located in the middle of the line to display distance. This slide explains the precedence of lines. Complex object sketches may require different line types to overlap. Line precedence must be used. There are a few basic rules that govern line precedence in sketches and technical drawings. The first is that object lines take precedence over hidden lines. The second is that hidden lines take precedence over center lines. The final rule is that cutting plane lines take precedence over all others. The seventh slide explains perspective drawings and how they are used. A perspective drawing offers the most realistic three-dimensional view of all the pictorial methods because it portrays the object in a manner that is most similar to how the human eye perceives the visual world. The next slide explains multi-view drawings. Multi-view drawings show two or more two-dimensional views of three-dimensional objects. Multi-view drawings provide the shape description of an object. When combined with dimensions, multi-view drawings serve as the main form of communications between designers and manufacturers. This slide explains the International System of Units. Its abbreviation is SI. The International System is a system of units of measurement consisting of 7 base units. This is the most widely used system of measurement. The United States is the only industrialized nation that has not adopted the SI system. The 7 base units are meter, kilogram, second, ampere, Kelvin, candela, and mole. The next slide explains what a dial caliper is. Dial calipers are arguably the most common and versatile of all the precision measuring tools used by engineers and manufacturers. A dial caliper is a tool that makes measuring small objects, an object's radius, and even length easier. The 11th topic explains a work point. A work point is an independent entity whose location is defined in space. Work points may be placed or projects onto part faces, linear edges, or onto an arc or circle. Work points can be constrained to the center points of arcs, circles, and ellipses. The next slide explains an exploded assembly presentation. You will create one of these after creating a product in Inventor. The exploded assembly presentation can be animated to show how the components and sub-assemblies fit together. The components move following tweaks and trails that have been created. These animations can also be saved as an external AVI file. This slide continues with the previous slide. It shows the definition of an exploded assembly. This is the same thing as the previous slide, except it is not in a presentation format. The definition of an exploded assembly is an assembly drawing in which parts are moved out of a position along an axis so that each individual part is visible. The next slide is Project 9.3 Decision Matrix Template. A decision matrix is a chart that allows a team or individual to systematically identify, analyze, and rate the strength of relationships between sets of information. The matrix is especially used for looking at large numbers of decision factors and assessing each factor's relative importance. A decision matrix is frequently used during quality planning activities to select product, service features, and goals to develop process steps and weigh alternatives. For quality improvement activities, a decision matrix can be useful in selecting a project, in evaluating alternatives, solutions to problems, and in designing remedies. This slide is explaining 4.0 solid geometry. It shows some of the basic shapes and some of the formulas. The first shape it shows is a cube. The formula for the volume of a cube is V equals sides cubed. The second shape is a rectangular prism. The formula for the volume of a rectangular prism is V equals width times length times distance. The next shape is a right rectangular cone. The formula for the volume of a right rectangular cone is V equals pi r squared divided by 3. The last shape is a pyramid. The formula for the volume of a pyramid is V equals area times height divided by 3. This slide explains two different definitions that flow together. The first word is assess. This means to thoroughly and methodically analyze accomplishments against specific goals and criteria. The second word is assessment. This is an evaluation technique for technology that requires analyzing benefit and risk, understanding the trade-offs, and then determining the best action to take in order to ensure that the desired positive outcome outweigh the negative consequences. Techniques used to analyze accomplishments gained against specific goals and criteria. Examples of assessment includes tests, surveys, observations, and self-assessments. Slide 18 gives an example of a brainstorming technique. The brainstorming example it gives is the scamper. The S stands for substitute something. The C stands for combine it with something else. The A is for adapt something to it. The first M is for magnify or add to it. The second M is for modify it. The P stands for put it to some other use. The E is for eliminate something. The first R is for rearrange it, and the second R is for reverse it. This slide shows you how to make a mind mapping chart. You start in the middle with the main idea. Then you branch out to multiple major ideas. After you have all your major ideas, you branch out from the major ideas to minor ideas within them. This slide talks about the history of a product and the most popular questions asked. One question you may receive is, when do changes take place? You may be asked where these changes come from. You may also be asked what advantages and disadvantages are associated with these changes. The final slide explains the 4 different types of lines. The 2 most common lines used are vertical and horizontal. A vertical line represents dignity, formality, stability, and strength. A horizontal line represents calm, peace, and relaxation. The other 2 types of lines are also very popular. A diagonal line represents action, activity, excitement, and movement. The last type is a curved line, and it represents freedom, the natural having the appearance of softness, and it creates a soothing feeling or mood.